So what I've got today is another custom integration. This one is specifically for LogicMonitor. And I picked this one to show off because of the insane hoops I had to jump through to get the authentication working for it. So it's a few commands in part of a larger workflow for data collection and reporting. And I wanted to show off the authorization header that they require for their API. So down here at the bottom, I've got the requirements from their API documentation. It's a bunch of transformations on some data, including the API key, the API kind of ID, and a bunch of stuff about the actual request you're making. So I couldn't figure out a good way to kind of capture that in Rewst's native authentication mechanisms for custom APIs. So you have to kind of make this on every single action. So kind of breaking it down piece by piece, the signature is definitely the most complicated. And you need a combination of that, the current time in epic milliseconds time, and also just the API key. So in order to generate the signature, you need the request variables, which is going to be the HTTP verb, so post, put, delete, all that good stuff, concatenated with the current time in epic milliseconds format, converted to a string with any of the post data that you're providing, and the path to the API endpoint. That's part one. Then you need to apply this HMAC filter to it. So that does some kind of encoding to it with the API key as kind of the input to that, converted to hex, converted to base 64. And then after all that nonsense, you put it together at the bottom with the access ID again and the time again, and then it lets you get the data. So that took me quite a while to figure out all of the different kind of Python filters that I needed to run through. I did have it working kind of locally in my own kind of Python stuff before migrating it to Rewst, so that helped a lot to have something else to check against and kind of compare filters and functions and features. But eventually we did get it working. The second part I wanted to kind of bring up with LogicMonitor is the way they do reporting. So you don't kind of directly get reports out of LogicMonitor. You have to request, at least as far as I'm aware, you have to request that the report runs. It will run that as a blocking action kind of in the background. So this will take 5 to 6 minutes to pull the report that I'm looking for. And then it will give you a URL to where that report is temporarily. So I have a short delay in here after it compiles the report and gives me the URL because it was timing out, or not timing out. It was giving me errors that the URL wasn't ready yet. So I gave it a little delay for that. And then it's just a simple GET request on the URL it provides to actually get the report. Kind of the final bit for their reporting, they include like 6 or so lines of kind of meta information that's not actually in CSV format above the report. Stuff like this is from LogicMonitor and it was ran by so-and-so, and then it gets to the data. So what I do here is I find kind of the line where the headers start for my report, cut off everything else using the indexing that Python has available, Jinja has available, and then kind of treat it as a regular CSV report, which works and is nice. So yeah, it's kind of the gist of what I wanted to do show for this demo. It's not a native Rewst integration, but if you do have LogicMonitor, you can eventually get it running in Rewst.